All right, let's talk about learning English. And I want you to forget everything you think you know about dusty old textbooks and, those boring grammar rules. What if learning a language was actually an adventure? Well, that's what we're going to dive into today. We're going to unpack the English Hub and show you how it's not really a rule book at all. Think of it more like a map for this incredible journey to speaking fluently. Because really, when you get down to it, that's what learning a new language is all about, right? It's a total adventure. You're unlocking whole new worlds, brand new ways to express who you are. So let's take a look at how this guide, this map, actually gets you ready for that big expedition. Okay, so every great adventure, you've got to start by packing the right gear, right? And it's the same here. Our first stop is all about building that solid foundation. We're talking about getting those essential tools you absolutely need to start navigating the world of English. And you know what's so cool about this approach? It's where it begins. It doesn't just throw a bunch of abstract rules at you to memorize. No, it starts with something totally human, telling stories. Think about it. The real foundation of communication isn't just knowing the rules. It's about being able to share your experiences. And that almost always starts with talking about things that have already happened, the past. So here it is. This is basically your starter toolkit for storytelling. It's got everything you need to get going. You've got the past simple, that's for explaining what happened. You get there was and there were to kind of set the scene. You have could to talk about what you were able to do, and used to for those old habits. The amazing thing is, with just these few tools, you're not just learning grammar. You are literally learning how to be a storyteller. Okay, but look, having the tools is one thing. A hammer doesn't do you any good if it just sits in the toolbox, right? You gotta build something with it. So the next logical step is to move from just knowing this stuff to actually using the language. We're talking real, everyday situations. And it starts super simple. Something as basic as telling the time. Why? Because it's practical, it's immediate, and it gives you that small win, that little boost of confidence that makes you want to keep going. This isn't some abstract theory. It's a real skill you can use literally the moment you learn it. Then from there, you jump into actual conversations. The book gives you these simple dialogues to follow, like this one about chores. One person might say something like, doing the dishes is so boring. And the other person can reply, really, I actually think it's kind of fun. I mean, it's not a deep philosophical debate, obviously, but it is real communication. You're learning how to agree, how to disagree, how to share a simple opinion. Now, to make all of this feel even more real, they introduce you to someone. Meet Lizzie Davis. She's what you might call a character anchor. And she's not just a name in a grammar exercise. She's a person with a life and a story. And by following her story, you get to see how all these different language pieces, they just fit together naturally. It makes everything so much easier to remember. Yeah, just listen to this. It's simple, it's clear, and it's pretty much exactly how a native speaker would describe their morning routine. And all of a sudden, the language it feels alive, it feels achievable. You see the vocabulary being used in a real way, and you start thinking to yourself, hey, I could totally describe my day like that. All right, so you built your foundation. You can handle daily life stuff. Now the journey gets really exciting. This is where you start using your new skills to explore a much, much wider world. And this right here, this just illustrates that next step perfectly. The learning is broken down into these really fantastic, engaging themes. So you're not just learning English in a vacuum. You're using English to learn about travel, about our planet, about totally different cultures, and yeah, about amazing food. The language itself becomes the vehicle for your discovery. So, for example, let's say you're in this section on culture and food. You're not just going to learn the word vegetable from a list. No way. Instead, you get to meet a real person with a real mission, the famous TV chef Jamie Oliver. And that instantly makes the whole topic way more compelling, way more memorable. And his story is laid out like its own little mini journey. I mean, it starts with him learning to cook in his parents' pub, then boom, he becomes a huge TV star, and then he launches this massive campaign to get junk food out of schools. By following a story like that, you're not just reading a boring text, you're actually absorbing some pretty complex language in a way that, actually sticks in your brain. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second and look at the whole map. We've seen how this journey takes you from getting the basic tools for storytelling to using them in the real world, and finally, to exploring these huge global topics. This whole thing, this is the complete path to fluency. And really, that's the main takeaway. It's a complete system. It builds that strong grammar foundation you need. It teaches you practical, everyday words you'll actually use. It keeps you hooked with fascinating topics from all over the world, and it connects everything back to these relatable, real-life stories. It really is a clear path, starting from the absolute basics and taking you all the way to feeling truly confident. And at the end of the day, that's the whole point, isn't it? A truly great language course doesn't just hand you a list of words. It gives you a map. It shows you the path. It gives you the gear for your own expedition. So really, the only question left to ask is, now that you have the map, where will your English journey take you?